This is Open Line.
Yes! That's awesome!
Get your questions about AFN programming answered by the experts.
My question's about sports.
I was wondering how you pick which shows will play on AFN.
Call 389-4336. Again, 389-4336. Open Line starts now.
And another number you can call, DSN 389-4595. DSN 389-4595. With us, Kathy from Stuttgart. A question about the news channel and Fox News. Hi, Kathy. Oops. Did we lose Kathy after the news? My producer is saying, yep, we lost her. The number to call, DSN 389-4595.
Call back, Kathy.
And she was listening to the news, and we lost her. With us today, Deputy Director Dave Gebhardt, Affiliate Relations Chief Larry Sichter, Director of Radio Jeff Riley, and Director of Religious Programming Chaplain Major Bruce Kite. We're talking about what you see on TV, what you hear on the radio.
And we tried to get Dave on the microphone now, so maybe in the second hour we can encourage him to give us some on-high perspective.
Hey, Larry mentioned something last hour about an NCO trying to attract his younger demographic, is 18 to 24, and that was really the impetus for our AFN Extra channel. And we have some new radio channels, services that people might know of: Drive FX, Gravity, and Jack FM.
Right.
And so if you have any radio questions on that, the reason really why we went there, George, is to get that younger demographic, but maybe we can explore that a little bit this hour too.
Well, I'm going to go to some emailed questions here. And first one, this is one from Todd. And Todd's question, he has two of them. When does AFN plan to broadcast shows in high definition?
Great question. We're in the process of testing high definition at the moment. We've just upgraded our automation system so that we're high def capable. In reception, of course, U.S. changed over. I think it was June. The February deadline was extended to June. We can now receive shows in high def. The challenge is distribution of high def. We have a very, very sophisticated transmission path, which includes a number of cable head ends around the world, and those all have to be converted, and that's millions and millions of dollars. The funding has been approved for that, but it's looking at the out years right now. So I think we're in the period between 2011 and 2013 is when we're going to be able to start doing some high definition. We realize the interest in the audience that the audience has in high definition. We know the AFI sales of high definition television sets are off the scope. We are working very, very hard and diligently to bring at least one high definition channel to the audience as soon as we can. Satellite bandwidth is still a player in that. We need the bandwidth because high def takes a lot more satellite capability. But we're working on it, George. We'll get there.
We have a question from Jeff from California. When will we be able to listen to our AFN radio stations over the Internet? That was a joke. It wasn't really. This was from Todd. And
Smart guy and funny guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Right, yeah.
Here we go. Will we be able to listen to AFN radio over the Internet? Question for you, Jeff Riley from the AFN Broadcast Center.
Yeah, we get that question everywhere. We were at the Air Force Broadcasting Conference in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, Larry and I. At the NAB symposium in Philly last week. The big thing, and as Larry was just alluding to, we're all over what everybody wants, but executing it sometimes is a different story. The thing with the internet streaming for audio is that also comes with a lot of ASCAP and BMI and royalty rights if we were to put that on the internet, because the artists now are going to want that exposure money. And we've had decades-long agreements with the music and entertainment industry to acquire the music that you hear over the air on AFN at basically no cost. And that was done in a whole different era. And so if we open that up and try to provide that streaming, we're going to have to sit down now with executives that weren't there when these original agreements were made. And it comes back to, as it always does, money. And they're going to want a lot of it, considering what they have done for the troops over these decades. So it's going to come down to, I'm all for it, of course. I mean, everybody is. It's going to come down to somebody in a high place in the defense media activity with the industry and hammering it out. And along with that is going to come some money. And that's why it's not available right now.
Good idea. Need the rights, need the money. Our number here, DSN 389-4595. Have the experts answer your question. Again, DSN 389-4595. Civilian, 0621-460-85595. Jeff, another question about radio. This one is from Carlton from European Stars and Stripes. And his question is, why don't you put sports on the radio when you have sports like
great question
playoffs?
What's his name and where's he from?
He is
Carlton.
his name is Carlton Crawford, European Stars and Stripes.
That's a great question. Once upon a time, we were hosting and airing 315 play-by-play sporting events a year on AFN. And we dug ourselves a hole in the 90s with so many of those games, with so many other things we had to do in radio. We lost personnel. And long story short, a worldwide survey was done, and somebody before me in the directorship of radio, along the lines, decided to pull the plug. And I was in Europe. I saw all the Stars and Stripes letters. I saw the where's my play-by-play, where's the sports on the radio. And so what happened was we kind of got our staff built back up, and we realized that play-by-play really should have never gone away the way that it did in its entirety. And so as we sit here today, we are airing sports on radio. In fact, we're going to air every game of the World Series coming up.
That's on voice, right?
Which would be an AM PowerNet source, most likely an AM, depending on where the audience member is. I would check your local AFN for
To
time
see
and frequency.
if the AFN station is carrying that.
Right.
You're offering it from the broadcast center. It's up to the different stations in Europe to decide whether to carry the game or not.
Well, we're going to air the major events: the World Series, the Super Bowl, the BCS Championship, the Triple Crown,
NBA,
Daytona, blah blah blah. We're putting it on the voice channel,
and that's available to people with an AFN decoder, DTH, direct to home. They can get that.
So the bottom line is sports is coming back. We're not going to do it to the extent we did do it, but we are going to do all the major American sporting events. So great question, Carlton.
Okay. I'm going to jump in very quickly. We have Gene on the line from Kuwait. Hello, Gene. Make sure Gene is still there. I'm checking with my producer. Gene, are you with us?
Yes.
You're our first caller from Kuwait. Thank you for your call, and what's your question?
Yes, we had R&B old school station on AFN. We had it on one of the frequencies on AFN. Plus, we had it on channel 27 on the TV. Somehow, it's been just taken off, and we have no music to listen to besides rock, country, but we have no R&B station. And I'm wondering, how can we get that back?
Was it replaced? I mean, did something else show up on that channel?
No, what you're talking about.
Well, what happened, I called AFN in Ramstein, and the guy told me that the sergeant there told me that it was still out there, but you have to turn to the frequency where it's located.
Gene, are you talking about the Touch? Are you talking about Tom Joyner and the Touch?
Well, no, not only Tom Joyner. On Sundays we had gospel hours most of the day from 1 o'clock until maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon. On a Saturday we had blues.
Gene, I think we need to ask you a few questions. How do you get your AFN radio service? Is it broadcast over the air? Do you listen? How do you get it? How do you listen to it?
It's broadcast over the air.
MMDS cable. It's a contingency. It's an OLA Ramstein contingency issue. Basically, we've got they are in your AO, in the area of operations in Kuwait, in Saudi, in Iraq, and Afghanistan. We've set up mayor's cells. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is to get in touch with your local mayor's cell.
I already done that, sir. I done that, got in touch with the mayor's cell. The guy that's there at Camp John, he's the E5. He has no idea where the satellites are located or the towers are located. I spoke with a sergeant, what's the sergeant? He's from down in,
At Ramstein?
no, he's in the Creek.
All right, you send us an email, and we will get this solved, because we've got Curtis Young at Ramstein is a contingency operations chief there. We will track this puppy down, because it sounds like an extremely local issue and has to do with the setup and distribution of their multi-point microwave distribution system.
Yeah. What email should he send it to, Larry?
You can go to myafn.net and hit the contact us. And
My AFN, I'm writing this down, myafn.net.
yeah, and just there's a contact us button, and tell them you were on the call-in show that AFNE did, and reported the problem, describe the problem, and the staff will be on it, and we'll get it to Ramstein.
Yeah, and Gene, what I'd also like you to do is hold on the line. We're going to move on to some other things in the show, but I'd like you to give your information, your email, your name, your phone number to our producer as a backup.
Yes, sir.
So that way, one way or the other, we'll get you an answer on it, but it sounds like we have to slice the onion a little deeper to get you a good answer.
Gene, if I could ask, how old are you?
How old am I?
Yep.
Sir?
Yeah, how old are you?
48.
Okay. What we did do, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but we had a service called The Touch, which was an old school, older targeting demographic with Tom Joyner in the morning. We replaced that with a service called Gravity. Gravity is a straight in-your-face, urban, 18 to 26-year-old service.
I'm
Okay?
48, sir.
Yeah, but let me explain to you why we did that.
Uh-huh.
Because at 48, you probably know not to get on your cafe motorcycle racer and cruise 90 miles an hour after a few beers.
Right.
Okay, you're good. We want an 18 or a 19 or a 20-year-old demographic to listen to that service and give them 5, maybe 6 minutes max of command information an hour, telling them at 20 years old that's probably not a smart idea. So for those out there with the Tom Joyner and the Touch question, we had to go a little bit younger in our target because we were not hitting the troops, your troops probably.
But it's okay though. But with all the other frequencies out there, we still should have been able to continue on having it.
Well,
you know, I mean, like for an example, on the TV, we got at least about 8 to 10 different AFN commercials that's program channels that it could have been on one of those channels.
You know what we do have? We have Gravity, which is urban. We have Drive FX, which is a techno trance. We have a Jack FM straight from Jack in L.A. It's the straight real deal Jack FM. We have Z-Rock. We have classic rock. We have hot AC. We have country. We have NPR. Okay, so we have 8 channels, 9 channels too.
Right. But I mean, only one channel. We only asking but for one channel.
Yeah, you know what? But I also get the blues people asking for a blues channel. I also get the jazz people asking for a jazz channel.
The blues was coming on Saturday. That was good. It came on Saturdays from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the afternoon.
And that should still be there, as Larry.
It's not there. That's not there. The gospel hour that came on from 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not there either.
We're going to have to do some detective work.
Gene, there's some stuff that you like that's not there anymore. And
well, not only me, sir. I mean, I'm not calling to represent myself.
No.
We
Gene,
understand.
What it is what I'm saying is there's stuff that people there in Kuwait are used to that they like, and they're not hearing anymore, and we need to find out a little bit more and get you an answer. We will get you that answer.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for taking the time to call us. We really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Gene.
And please hold on the line now, Gene, please.
I will.
Okay, producer, please take down this information and we'll get back with Gene. But right now we're going to move on to line 2, Vern from Graph. And Vern has a follow-on information here from a previous caller. Hello, Vern.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Speak up a little bit and then move the phone right over to your lips so we can hear your question.
Not a problem. I'm in full agreement with Gene. I'm about the same age as he is, and I'm not in Kuwait. I'm here in Graftonville. And he's absolutely correct that Channel 26 on the AFN, and I don't live on the base, it just disappeared, and Gravity did appear, I think it was last week or week before. Gene is absolutely correct. That particular channel had a large variety of music. I mean, not just the Tom Joyners, the Doug in the morning, and the blues, the gospel hour. It had a number of different programs on there, and it's all gone, and it's been replaced with Gravity. I agree with him. It seems as though with the different channels out there that, that particular channel could have been kept, and gravity could have been added as well. I understand, your need to get the message out to the younger soldiers, but we're still here too, and we're still listening as well.
And you know what? And I'll be completely honest with you. We have received feedback on the touch that honestly I wasn't expecting. But I knew it was going to come from an older demographic, and I knew that we didn't have anything, and we haven't had in decades. I know because I've been here, for a young urban soldier or airman. And the time had come, and we had an opportunity to get that fixed and to get that command information out to them. It just came down to what is our mission, and that's command information.
Understand.
And they were not getting it.
Understand.
Yeah. But I think what Vern is saying is he hears you, but he misses Tom Joyner.
And you know what?
We're going to have to chat.
And you know what, Vern? I hear you too. And like I said earlier, I am open to what makes sense and works for you and your family and the troops over here. And I got it.
Yeah, and I got it as well. I'm only here because of the soldiers as well. And, and what they need, that should take priority. And I'm with that. However, as I said, as Gene said, and there's probably more of us out here that's aware of it, that was a great channel. I mean, we listened to, they've already moved Tom Joyner from the AFN in the mornings to late nights now. It was on late nights. Doug Banks as well. All of those talk shows come on late night. So we only get them when we get home because obviously we don't have AFN in our offices, right? So it was perfect timing. So when I sit down when I get home in my office and I turn it on and I'm listening and I'm on my PC, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared.
Another part of that decision was that Tom Joyner was losing ratings in the States, and he has been.
And I don't mean it to be about Tom Joyner. It's not about that.
Well, that was part of why we put Kid Craddock on Gravity. Kid Craddock, Gravity, first of all, was custom built for AFN under our direction. And we grabbed Kid Craddock at no cost and put him on Gravity. And the reason why is, A, he targets a younger demo. His ratings are better. He's number one in a lot of markets. And Joyner, over the years, has lost his stations and ratings. And we polled AFN stations last year around the world, and we had how many? 7, maybe?
Yeah, maybe 5 out of the 35 are actually still carrying them. Most have dropped.
Yeah, and not a lot were on the touch. And that's why we haven't garnered a lot of feedback like yours, Vern, but a couple here and there, enough to certainly get my attention. Yeah. And I hear you, man.
And most people our age, we just live with it, right? I want to make it clear that I think the younger soldiers, should have that first priority. They should, right? So it's not a question about either or. It's just a question of, can you add it back?
Both. You're looking for both.
Because I don't listen to, well, actually I have to listen to touch now, but I don't listen to that. I would prefer to have...
You mean Gravity?
I mean Gravity. I would prefer to have that touch broadcaster because Gene explained it clearly. It had a variety of things, the talk shows, it had the blues, it had the Sunday mornings, where actually it came on at 1 o'clock, but, the praise and worship that came on Sundays. It just had a variety of things so we could plan our day and listen to different things during the course of the day and the course of the week. So, yes, those young soldiers should have it, and yes,
they have to have it.
Yeah, we just want to have both of them.
And you know what? On the other side of that coin, since we have everything on the table here, I can tell you over the last 20 years that Tom Joyner has also elicited a lot of unfavorable email.
Oh yeah, I
so
can't. Tom Joyner, though, please understand that it's not. I just mentioned that as an example because. Those are the type of programs that was on that particular channel.
Yeah, Vern.
Got it, man. Great call.
We appreciate that, and this is the feedback we need because, frankly, one of our problems at AFN is measuring what our audience listens to and watches, and especially with our AFN satellite decoder, we have a difficult problem in measuring who listens to what and how much. But you giving us the feedback, it's been noted. People were taking notes here in the studio. It's 2 votes in favor of a touch-like radio program.
We encourage the audience to give us this feedback on a regular basis. Let us know what you want. Let us know what you like and dislike. We need to measure it.
How can we do that rather than calling our local stations, which...
myafn.net.
Okay, so we could go there and
yeah, and we share with our affiliates on this. We get the feedback. We have a campaign on the air right now. We're trying to solicit more audience feedback. We want to hear what people like, what they dislike.
And you know what? The whole 20 years or so that we had the touch on, which was custom built for us by ABC, we never got one email saying how much somebody loved the touch.
Yeah, because we're listening to it. No one ever.
Yeah. That's right, and that's why I'm saying if you're a young soldier out there right now that likes gravity, let us hear you, because had we had that documentation and that empirical data over the years, that may have played in. Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
So be proactive, both favorably and maybe with something you don't agree with.
And
everybody,
it's human nature that you don't miss something until it's gone.
Right. Exactly.
And now it's gone. And speaking of, Vern, thanks for the call.
This is a good forum you guys have, but if you want that kind of feedback, maybe some kind of announcement on the different channels to say, hey, if you like this type of programming, send us an email here.
We can look at that. That's a good idea.
We're listening to the stations, and if I'm sitting at my PC and you tell me, hey, if you're liking what you're listening to, send me an email and let me know.
I love it.
That's a good idea, too. Vern, once again, thanks. Good idea, good feedback.
All right, thank you.
Take care, man. Line 3, we're going to check and see if James from K-Town is with us. He has a follow-up comment on when we talked about Rush Limbaugh in Hour 1. Hello, James.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. Hey, my problem is having the Rush Limbaugh's broadcast in the war zones. Your explanations earlier are satisfactory for AFN Europe or, say, AFN Asia, but when you're in a war zone and you've got this guy questioning the citizenship of the commander-in-chief and his authority to lead, calling him a racist and a liar and a joke, he's like Axis Sally, Hanoi Hannah, and Tokyo Rose all rolled up in one. And it can't be good for our soldiers.
Good point. Hold, and we're going to give you an answer.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. During the Bush administration, we received feedback from people saying, why do you have this person on or that network on when they're saying that we've already lost the war in Iraq and we're here fighting in Iraq and we don't need to hear that and the war's not over. It was the shoe was dropping on the other side. And now, it's a different administration, and there are those in Iraq and Afghanistan who enjoy Rush Limbaugh. That's the bottom line. And as we stated earlier, we are here to give them a choice of what is popular in America. And if you want to talk about popular, he's bulletproof as far as ratings and numbers of listeners are concerned. So to censor, it's not our doctrine.
Yeah, and I don't think you want us to go down that road of start censoring, because it's against our regulations, it's against our mandate, and now we're removing somebody back in the States is making decisions, political decisions, about what you, the viewer and the listener, can get, and that's not right.
But what can happen if there's a commander in Iraq who really thinks that is seriously detrimental. He can get a hold of that AFN station, and they can, on a one-by-one, they could take Hannity off, and they could take Rush off, and they could take Holmes off, and they could take Schultz off. Nobody says you have to carry them, but it is a one-for-one. If you take Rush, you must air an hour of Holmes or Schultz. Now, we don't want to go there, but if it got to that, I mean...
Yeah, and the key there is we offer choices, and if you don't like it, turn it off. But I think everyone out there, there's smart people that listen to it. They know it's a man with his opinions, and they know that AFN does not support these opinions.
Or any opinions that we broadcast.
None of us have opinions on these programs. We simply present the shows as is.
Yeah.
So certainly AFN doesn't endorse any political commentary or thoughts or opinions like that. We just simply put the shows on the air.
James, I know it's troubling, but I think it's just one of these things that it's the environment we live in, and we see this all the time back in the States. We're dealing with the same kind of fractured society because of the political commentation that's going on. So it's just a...
And I guess all we can ask is that commanders take a look at that. Nobody wants censorship. And on the other hand, nobody wants aiding and abetting the enemy also.
Right. So
we would hope the commanders would look at that and see if he's going too far with it, or maybe someone would talk to him when it comes to his shows that's being his first hour of the show that's being broadcast on military networks. But we'll see how it goes.
I think it's one of those things too. I mean, in my family growing up with our kids, there were times that programs would come on, and it obviously presents an opportunity for discussion. And it sometimes on the political side, discussions can get heated. The discussions, the way they're portrayed on television sometimes, with people shouting at each other, isn't the way to go. But a meaningful discussion among peers about the value of what they heard or listened to, I think, is sometimes helpful.
James, we really appreciate you letting us know what you think, and thanks for calling AFN's Open Line.
Thanks, James.
Thank you for taking my call.
Ralph from Stuttgart. His question, morning radio. Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
What do you think of morning radio that you listen to in Stuttgart?
I was just thinking, I just told your call receiver there that Sergeant Dijon Rowe,
right?
Her voice comes on the radio and brings nothing but sunshine into our lives. And for a long time, I've been wanting to send an email or something and compliment this woman.
There you go.
And anytime she wants to wake me up, I wish I had her when I was in the Army.
Well, good. Well, you're talking to people that know Sergeant Roll. We'll pass those words of encouragement on to her.
In fact, she was here, George, right?
Yes. She local?
Yes.
She's an AFN?
She's a sergeant in the United States Army.
Well, you should make her a colonel. But no, you shouldn't, because then we won't hear her. Give her another stripe or something.
In fact, she was in this very studio a couple of years ago, and then she must have transferred down there.
Just this year, she just is getting out of the Army. But we do have 2 colonel slots in AFN Europe. We'll see
Maybe
if
Colonel Bigelow can look at this.
But
right?
you know what? Do you see how refreshing that is to hear somebody who likes something? Because that goes into the brain box too.
Yes.
Well, I miss Charlie Tuna and I miss Paul Harvey. But
God rest him.
That's how long I've been around.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of Charlie Tuna, he is still alive and active in LA radio, and we spoke last hour about adding some niche stuff that is kind of a throwback, and that could hit an hour here or two there. And Charlie has expressed interest to come back to AFN for free. And that's something that certainly could happen down the road, so hang tight on that one.
Well, tell him a lover of Sergeant Dijon Rowe is a fan of his. We've missed him. Charlie Tuna was always, for me, a touch of home.
Charlie Tuna!
Yeah.
That was 9 a.m. right after the local shows.
But tell Sergeant Rowe that if she wants to get out of the Army, she should stay here.
I will, and Ralph, thank you very much for your call.
Thanks, Ralph.
We're on to Carl from Heidelberg. Carl has a question about Ed Schultz and Rush. Hi, Carl.
Hi, how are you?
You probably have a little bit of a reverb you're listening to. You listen to the radio signal right now?
Yeah, cut it off.
Turn that down just a little bit, and you can hear us fine over the phone.
Basically, all I want to know, I've heard about the Rush and the Ed show, but I just want to know, can their time slots be exchanged? Because Rush has had that time slot for years.
Okay, so you're wanting to have Ed Schultz appear at 6 o'clock, 1800 Central European Time instead of Ed Schultz.
Let's see, how do we do that, Jeff? We got 4 political talk, and we can carry 2 of them live, right?
No, we have 4 political talk, and we can carry 1 of them live because we got to make 4 of them available.
Right.
So the thing is, Rush does his show live. We take his show live
0900 Pacific.
At 09 Pacific. The thing with Schultz is, and I don't have the actual numbers of when his show starts, but I think his show starts like a couple of hours later, and we record his first hour and play it back the very next hour. And so you're talking about flip-flopping, which I don't know, and my inkling is I don't think it's possible because I think Ed starts a little bit later than Rush.
I think
right,
he starts
Larry?
at 11 and Rush starts at 9, so this is California time. So he's just not available to us to pick up if we were going to broadcast him at 9. It'd have to be a 23-hour-old show.
Yeah, and the thing with Alan Colmes is up until about 3 or 4 months ago, we were airing Alan Colmes' show almost 23 hours later.
Right.
And what we did is we recorded Colmes and switched him up up to from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific, which actually bumped him back 3 hours, but you were getting a
fresh show,
a very fresh show. I think a 1 hour old show on Combs. And so we noticed that. We jumped on it. We asked all the stations. They said, yeah, go for it. And we made that change. But that's why Rush is where he is and why Ed is where he is.
Yeah, I was just under the impression that both of them had like a 3 to 4 hour program, and we was only getting 1 hour. It wasn't necessary that we had to have the first hour.
Oh yeah, well you're correct. They do have a longer program. We are taking the first hour of all our political talk shows.
And normally the first hour is the best hour. I mean, they're hitting you right out of the box. They want to start their show good. They're front loaded with all their good stuff. But it has nothing to do with left or right. I can guarantee you that. It was a timing thing as far as when their shows started.
Right. And we're going to be consistent. If we're going to do the first hour on one, we'll do the first hour on them all. Because like Jeff said, that's the hour they've got their best stuff. And then they're in the second and third hour, they're referring back to the first hour anyway, and it wouldn't make much sense. So getting that first hour in there is important.
So do you like Ed, Carl?
I like Ed. I listened to Rush too for a little while till I can't take it anymore. But Larry, is Paul Harvey completely gone away?
Well, Paul Harvey died.
I know, but
Mike Huckabee from ABC. ABC tapped Mike Huckabee to take that slot, right, Jeff?
Yes. Huckabee works for Fox.
Well, this is exactly what happened with that. Paul Harvey unfortunately died.
Yeah, I know.
ABC went in limbo, played some of Paul Jr.'s shows for a while, and while they were trying to decide what they were going to do, they brought in Mike Huckabee, and all of the ABC affiliate stations fell in line with ABC corporate decisioning on that. I actually looked around to try to find a neutral 5-minute slot to replace Paul with, and I got to tell you, there's just not a lot of 5-minute vignettes and features. There's a lot of 60s and 2 minutes and hours. And so it came a point, it was right around the holiday season too. I had people on leave. I had a guy sick. One guy just retired. I fell in line just like all the other ABC stations did.
And it is amazing that he's from Fox and he's on ABC, because I heard him yesterday and he's tagging for his Fox show. So
yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah. And ABC and Fox are pretty different politically.
Okay.
So we fell in line. It was nothing that we did. We didn't go out and grab Mike and it was nothing like that. And all the stations fell in line. I have received, I think this is a second feedback on that change. One was positive, and then one was negative on it, and yours is
so I listened to
kind of down the middle.
Yeah.
So
okay, Larry, thanks. Good to hear your voice again.
Well,
we used to work together in Paso and Frankfurt.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Back with TV5 and Ruben Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that takes me back. Out there running on M1, A1 tanks and during Reforger.
Wow. Well, thanks for that call.
All right, thanks, Larry.
Cool, thank you.
And Vern from Graph has a follow-on call, and his is on news in general. Hi, Vern. Welcome back.
Thank you. Hey, I wanted to tell you guys, I didn't tell you guys, AFN, you guys are doing a wonderful job.
All right.
I mean, I heard the guy a few moments ago that said he's been there for a long time. The first time I was here, there was only one channel, and it was over the air. And now you got a digital satellite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing.
Channels, so you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Now, the thing with the news, is it possible with this scheduling, you have Fox on, I believe it's Channel 5 in this area, running 24/7. Is it possible to get those network news on at like 6, 7 in the morning? Most soldiers and civilians are gone or have left their home by 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
And you're talking about TV, right?
I'm talking about TV news.
Okay.
Every morning we get that CNN talk show news that stays on from 6 to 7.
And this is on Atlantic
H&L.
or News?
That's HNL.
Are you talking about Prime Atlantic or our AFN News channel?
It's the HNL that comes on at 6, and I think it's on Atlantic.
Prime, yeah. Just checking the schedule here.
It comes on at 6 a.m.
Right, okay.
And it runs for an hour.
And then ABC picks it up.
We got Prime News. Yeah, Prime News night. Yeah, okay, right. 6 o'clock, Prime News tonight. Then we got NBC Nightly News at 7, followed by ABC World News, and then Sesame Street starts.
Right. Can you change those too? Because
which one?
You know, that's that interactive talk news, and it runs from 6 to 7. But the ABC, CBS comes on at 5.
Right.
You have the ESPN comes on at 5:30.
Yeah.
Then at 6 o'clock you have that HLN that stays on for an hour. And it's more like a talk show, call-in kind of thing.
So you're saying move the NBC Nightly News and ABC, just flip them so that we're getting the network news shows a little earlier?
Yeah, during the time that people are getting ready for work, because by 7 o'clock everyone's gone. That's when the news actually come on. Now, I have been up at midnight and I watched CBS, ABC, and NBC when it comes on then, right?
The goal of the block is obviously, you put your finger right on it. That's the goal of the block. The people are getting up. Nobody's sitting in the couch watching this stuff. They're moving around. They're getting ready. They're doing their morning business.
Right.
And they're hearing the news in the background.
Absolutely.
I'll take that back. We can look at that. I mean, the numbers at NBC and ABC are clearly completely overwhelming CNN. I mean, these are the network prime news shows, and that's why we got them on in the morning. We can see if if a flip would work.
Right. I greatly appreciate that. And again, like I said, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Thanks for everything.
Thanks for the call, Fred.
Okay.
I have a bunch of email questions that have built up. I'm going to try and go through as many as we can. My worry here that we're not going to be able to get through all of them in this hour. First one is, this is Sonia, and Sonia's question, I've heard it more times than I can count, and I've never heard a good answer. Why does AFN focus only on MTV VH1? I and the majority of the mainstream listeners would love to hear CMT, GAC, or even VH1 Country. Country has a huge audience and demand. I would encourage you to poll your listeners and viewers if you disagree. Why can't we have country music? More of it.
I guess we're talking television here.
Yeah, it's not clear in the email, but I would say in general, TV and radio.
Yeah, we have country on radio. It's one of our satellite services, so it's available to anybody with a decoder.
If she has a decoder,
yeah. MTV properties, we're getting a lot of MTV, and I think it's costing us. I don't think it's all free. It might be a monetary issue, but I think it's probably a ratings issue. I think MTV programming is a bit more popular. We can take that back. And now the MTV we're airing on Extra. So I'm not sure how CMT or what channel we'd put that on, because it's not really an extra format. MTV is a little bit more edgy. I think country is a little bit more mainstream. It wouldn't fit with the character of the channel. Now we're talking about finding a home for music programming on another channel, and there just might not be a fit there. But we could certainly consider.
Next question. I would like to know what happened to the Dr. Demento show. Brian.
I think he put his tinfoil helmet on and no, that's not it.
Dr. Demento. I want to say that was in
had to be the 80s.
That was like the Charlie Tuna and the Don Tracy and Loretta Shelby, and it was something where he came in to the broadcast center and recorded his show, and we sent it out to the field via vinyl.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still out there doing his thing.
Yeah,
I think it was a rights money thing, and he, for those of you listening that don't know who Dr. Demento is, he does oddball songs like Purple People Eater, Ray Stevens, and unusual odd type songs.
We migrated away. Back in the early 90s, we started dropping off those hosts coming into the studios and going to the satellite services.
Yeah, it was a complete money thing.
It was a money issue.
It was costing a lot of money to press that vinyl and send it out to the world. When satellite technology came on board and we were able to satellite these services, and that's Charlie Tuna and Don Tracy and Loretta and the rest of them, Wolfman Jack kind of all went away at that point. So I don't know where Mr. D is.
11:43 Central European Time. You're listening to folks from the AFN Broadcast Center from California. You have the Affiliate Relations Chief Larry Sichter here, the Director of Radio Jeff Riley, and the Director of Religious Programming Chaplain Bruce Kite. Chaplain Kite, how does the Broadcast Center select its religious programming?
Religious programming is a bit unusual from the rest of our more secular programs because we don't have access to Nielsen ratings. Nielsen folks don't even keep up with it because there's not a commercial value for the folks selling soap. So what we do is make sure that any of the folks, and they tend to come to us to want to reach out to the troops, that we screen them as careful as we can to determine that they are got a nationwide appeal, not just something local, regional. that they've got some longevity, they've got a resume, that they meet some specific guidelines that have been developed years ago by the Armed Forces Chaplains Board, and making sure that they don't make derogatory statements about some of their competition or their leaders, that they keep in line with military acceptable standards like EEO and EOC standards, that the quality of the programming is up to par for a diverse and audience that understands what good quality video and audio should be expected, relevant to that target 18 to 24-year-old audience. Although we extend a little bit, we understand we have families out there too. So we want to try to target that lost lamb out there in a fob who doesn't have regular access to his or her chaplain, so that we can try to give them, again, a touch of home, a taste of it that typically is going to come in like it does stateside, Sunday morning time frame.
It doesn't solicit.
Exactly. Solicitation, we don't want to become a conduit on taxpayers' expense for them to be selling you their books or wares, or even you ask, well, offering me prayer and counseling seems like an innocuous thing. When we close that door so that it's not abused, we try to make sure that they don't have a special advantage, a quid pro quo, if you please, with that a church on the corner back in Memphis, Tennessee doesn't have. And so we try to make that up front. So we remove email gliders, some graphics that they put on there, with the exception of the end tag, because that's become acceptable in the secular programming too. And if nothing else, let them know who to blame for the last half hour.
We're back to the phone lines. That's the voice of Chaplain Major Bruce Kite. He's the Director of Religious Programming from the AFN Broadcast Center in California. And before we go to our phone lines, one more quick question from the open line email account. This is a question about the Internet itself. Why doesn't AFN broadcast on the Internet to have a password account-protected account as opposed to a satellite thing? Thanks for taking my question, Jim from the Benelux in beautiful Belgium.
Streaming is an issue that we're all working with. Jeff had a great discussion of streaming in the first hour. We're talking rights issues. In order to stream programming, we have to negotiate rights with every single program provider. Huge undertaking, something that may be down the road. We would like to move into a realm of video on demand. Cost prohibitive right now, but it's we are very, very conscious at the Broadcast Center of the availability of media, the media choices that audience have that may not be AFN. We want AFN to be available to them in a multitude of platforms, and we're in the process of exploring that right now.
Affiliate Relations Chief Larry Sichter, the AFN Broadcast Center. Josh on the line from Ramstein. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Your question, and speak right into that phone because I'm hard of hearing.
Okay. The question I have is for the PowerNet from 2 to 6. You guys have connections with, it used to be Stoney, now it's Barnacle Biller or somebody.
Right. He's a sailor.
Yeah. And
Barnacles.
The question,
Go figure. Your question.
The question I have is, some days you guys have NPR playing during that time. And I don't know, it just seemed to work out a little bit better for me. I like listening to NPR as opposed to the oldies stations because...
You're breaking Barnacle's heart. He's listening right now.
I apologize.
But still, a vote is a vote. You'd like NPR instead of Barnacle and the Connection show, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, George, I worked for PBS for 10 years. I vote for NPR as well.
Okay. I'm voting for Barnacles.
Oh no, it's a split room.
There's a danger here, Josh. He is running this show, and he has control of all the pots. He could shut me off at any moment.
LSU Tigers,
NPR,
Barnacles.
But seriously, Josh, do you also have an AFN decoder?
Yeah, but from 2 to 4, it's at work, and normally you're not supposed to be paying attention to the radio while you're at work.
Why not?
It's command information.
Busted, yeah.
But it seems with the oldie stations, I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous, but they tend to play the same songs over and over again.
They're oldies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the oldie stations, it seems like there's just maybe a handful of them that they play over and over again.
And,
Good point.
And I got it. You have a vote for more news talk, less music on the Power Network.
Yes.
Got it. And we have it and have taken notes. Anything else, Josh?
Also, I'd really like to thank you for putting the college football games on the weekends. I really appreciate it, and you guys are trying your best. I mean, I wish there were more games on.
Hey, man, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I just did a check. I got to do this, George. Sorry. This weekend we have 13 college football games on between now and Monday. We have 13 college football games on. We have the MLB divisional playoffs. We have 7 NFL football games. We just acquired Professional Bowling Association, so we have women's and seniors national championship bowling.
I've been waiting for that.
We had the Grand Slam, the final round of the PGA Grand Slam last night. We got 3 NBA preseason games, an AMA motocross, UFC 104, NASCAR Nationwide and Sprint Cup, and 3 NHL games. All coming up on AFN Sports this weekend. Watch it. Be there. Aloha.
Sunday.
Did you hear that, UFC 104? Do you know how huge that is for troops to be able to get that over here? That's $60 into my living room in Los Angeles.
And
that's awesome.
We pay nothing for that.
Yeah. So, other comments from you, Josh?
That's about it off the top of my head. I do appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I have no complaints with the programming.
Very
Great.
cool.
Thank you. Go Hawaii Warriors.
And go NPR.
Hawaii Warriors. No, go Ducks.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks for your call, Josh.
All right, thanks.
We have a few questions here from folks asking why they can't get AFN radio in as well as they would like, difficulty tuning it in. That's a problem that's here in Europe. Jeff, you want to talk to that one? You remember from your days of AFN Hessen, 98.7 booming across most of Germany.
Who is that from?
Well, we had...
God, I love that email.
Yeah, there's 2 questions here. Both of them were the similar question.
Let's say where they are.
Yeah. One of them is Brian, and let me go back. You answer the question. I'll
here's yeah. I couldn't agree with you more as a programmer and listener to AFN and Italy, Germany, Korea, Alaska. Once upon a time, 20, 30 years ago, our frequencies were pretty good. At that time, we didn't have the cluttered radio band that now exists in Germany. And over the years, these transmitters have gotten old. And over the years, radio has become big business, and some of these governments want their frequencies back. In Italy, it's a complete train wreck because they're on 106.0 throughout Italy, and American radios pick up 106.13579, and they're out of odd frequency. I had to drop a European radio in my car there. So there's a whole combination of detrimental effects that have led to very subpar transmission, and it's just there's nothing worse than static on the radio. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, and let me jump in with something new that's happened since you left us. There's some good news on the horizon. It's basically the odd frequencies for FM. They're easier to tune in on a American car, and we have our AFN Bavaria station in the German state of Bavaria has recently come up with 4 new U.S. friendly frequencies, and they have a 5th that's looking like it's coming too. So soon our American listeners in the German state of Bavaria will have 2 radio services for every community and an added bonus of having U.S. friendly frequencies.
And that's
huge.
That's good. And some of the radios actually have a little slot in the back where you can change it to American standard, some of the newer ones. But then there's more. There's power limitations for transmission. And, unless you're picking up 98.7 out of V-Spot, which is a great frequency and a great sounding station, or 102.7 in Seoul, where we have another flamethrower, it's just not up to standard that you would expect in America. I'll tell you what the bottom line is. What I would like to get done and what I'm working on is finding a way to deliver our digital radio to a handheld device. So whether you're in a tank, a Humvee, a house, a car, an office, there is your AFN services right there in digital, pure audio coming from a satellite.
And
that's really
you were just back at the NAB looking at that kind of stuff.
I was in Philadelphia, and the technology internationally isn't there yet. It is in America, obviously, with XM and Sirius and stuff, but that's what I'm looking at, because that's the fix to all of the problems.
And we need to do a field study too. DMA we need to put our engineers out there and start looking at the transmitters and the frequency patterns and the broadcast patterns, and just take a whole look at the network and see how we can do it better.
Yep. And as far as the longer-term solution for frequencies, getting a frequency here in Europe is a process that can take as long as 7 years. We've had recent success in a new frequency debuted in Garmisch, a new AM frequency down there. So we now have 2 frequencies in Garmisch. There's communities in Vilseck, Graf, Hohenfels, where we're doing good things down there. And the big thing for any of our listeners is tune in your AFN local radio station, go to their website, and they'll tell you what the latest and greatest are. But most of our positive developments in tuning in radio have been happening in the German state of Bavaria.
Well, our Silent Dave here, our deputy who's been sitting at the tables, is going to be taking a little bit of vacation after this week to go, and he'll be actually in Garmisch, so he can give you good feedback about the quality of the signal down there.
And those questions, by the way, I know you're keeping tabs on this here, Jeff, is one is Denisha, and she doesn't say where, she's from the UK, and we have another one, and S. Allen doesn't say where S. Allen is from.
UK, there's no broadcast in the UK. So
yeah, but she's talking about when she comes to visit in Germany. But Jeff was asking where these callers are from, or these people are from. And there was another email from a Grosh McCluskey, and doesn't say where she is from, but basically it's a family, an Army and a Navy retiree. We're talking about radio frequencies.
98.7, Dave, when you're in Wiesbaden later today with your wife, check in with Lon Blair and Nick Hobbs and all the great people there, and that great flame-throwing station. That is one, good frequency, but I completely, I hear it.
Our first hour of our AFN Open Line is already posted on the web. Go to afneurope.net. It's there, and hour 2 will be up shortly. We have just about 4 minutes left in the show. I have about 6 more emails here. I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can. This one is from, Mr. A. Again, an emailed question, and this was sent to Brian Biller, our Barnacle Bill, I call him sometimes, host of our Connection show. I think AFN is geared too much to the 18 to 24-year-old crowd, and you don't do enough for older viewers. There's very little History Channel or educational TV. What can you do to help address this and bring back the balance?
We actually have a lot of History Channel, Discovery Channel, A&E. The challenge is that we haven't been able to label it. So people, if they know the name of the channel, of the program that they like from History Channel, use the search engine on my AFN to see if it's there. We are carrying top programming from History Channel. It would appear on Spectrum, and it's basically during the weekdays. Our challenge is try to label that programming better. What I would like to see happen with our new program scheduling and traffic system is people could actually search on History Channel, and all the programs that we're carrying from History Channel show up, so they could actually see that we are exposing a lot of those properties.
3 minutes to go. My name is Jim. I'm calling and writing you from the Benelux. Quick questions. Why is so little of your programming targeted to older kids over the age of 10 or 12, especially the cartoons, which seem to be for very small kids? Why don't you have hardly anything for the rest of us in terms of cartoons for older kids?
Good question. AFN Family, 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, targeted at preschoolers. We start aging the programming to match the demographic that becomes available. We start moving into the early teens from 3 to 5, into the tweens 5 to 6, teens, and then by about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we're hitting the 16, 17-year-olds with shows like Beverly Hills 90210 and Degrassi High.
We are about 2.5 minutes away from the end of our program. I'm going to try and get in one more caller, Anthony from Heidelberg, a question about PBS. Anthony? Well, that was quick. That was a very quick call. And with this question here, it's about the TV guide. Why is it that the AFN program guide only talks about what's happening now and the next few hours instead of the whole day?
It's a video feed. It only can show 2 hours, just like a program guide in the States. It has a 2-hour display with the new decoder that's going to be available in 2010. We'll be able to use the EPG, the electronic program guide, embedded in the decoder, and you can use your remote to forward through 6 weeks of programming.
I need a 20-second answer, max. News Hour with Jim Lair from PBS. Why can't you put it at a better time here in Europe than 2 a.m.?
Jim Lair is a very good show. As I said, I'm a PBS fan, but there are other news shows that are much more popular, and to displace a show at other time that with a lower rated program might not garner as big as an audience. So we would encourage him to use a recorder and to capture that PBS NewsHour for play at the times most convenient for viewing.
What you see on TV, what you hear in a radio. Our guests have been talking about that. AFN Broadcast Center in California with us today. Affiliate Relations Chief Larry Sichter, Director of Radio Jeff Riley, Director of Religious Programming Chaplain Bruce Kite. Larry, 10 seconds or less, man. Where do they go if they want to give you more feedback, and when will you give them an answer?
myafn.net. Our staff is there 5 days a week, and we answer every question unless you say really nasty things about us. Then we ignore you. But
Thank you, gentlemen. News is next. My name's George Smith. Thanks for listening to AFN's Open Line.